in a first for national carrier South African Airways, an all-female intercontinental flight took to the skies. Destination, Sao Paulo in Brazil. Our reporter Slindelo Masikane was very honored to be on that flight, and I'm very honored this morning to have here in studio with us the captain of that flight, Ms. Jane Trembath, senior purser Ms. Caroline Moja, and aircraft technician Ms. Lindiwe Ndaba, who joined the airline straight from Matric. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining us. Let me start with you, Jane. This is a very historic moment. Tell us about the experience and what went through your mind, your emotions, everything as it was happening.
It's a very exciting event because it was a first intercontinental for us in South African Airways. But when we got down to doing the job, it was just a normal flight.
Right.
And just interacting with all my crew members, it was just a normal flight. And we enjoyed it as such. But we were really glad to be able to make that statement for women.
A normal flight, and it just happened to be a female flight, but it was a normal flight. And I guess, Slindelo, nothing crazy that you would expect. You went, you're back, it was a great flight.
Exactly. I mean, this was a normal scheduled commercial flight. So SAA flies daily in and out of Brazil. And I think as passengers, they had no idea what was going on. I think for them as well, just, you know, on their trip, on their journey to Sao Paulo, Brazil, seated, Captain Jane Trembath, you know, the normal routine of having to welcome the passengers, tell them what's going on, and then just to hear her say, oh, just by the way, this is an all-female operated flight, from the people that clean the flight, the technician who approved the flight to go ahead, you know, the crew. It was really amazing to see. I was quite proud not only to be a woman that day, but, you know, proudly South African really that day.
Indeed, and this needs to be a norm.
Yes.
Let's talk to you, Lindiwe, in terms of the work that you do. Firstly, what attracted you into this industry?
Honestly, I've always been someone who loved to fiddle. I'm a very good fiddler with things, and aviation was just one of those, the sky's the limit for me. You know, so getting into the industry, it was, I don't know, honestly, but it was just the fiddling part of it that interested me into getting into being an aircraft technician, and now it's the sky's the limit.
Right, and was fiddling with this flight in particular extra special for you?
It was, especially seeing the Captain Jane there and the cabin crew there, like everybody who was there, seeing all the women that were on that flight. It was, for me, because I didn't even know about it. It's something that I only found out about in the morning when I got there, and like, no, you're doing this flight, specifically you're doing this flight. And I get there and it's all women, which was surprising and also very interesting for me to see that, because usually I'm either the only woman there and or the pilot or the cabin crew. So now the whole flight being catered for by just women, that's something you hardly see, you hardly experience, and having it happen, we want to see it happening on a regular basis. Having it happen on that day, it was just something else. It was extra special.
We want to see it happening on a regular basis. And Ms. Caroline, who says that women can't work together?
You know, exactly. You know, we actually were a living proof that women can work together and work together in nice, having a nice cohesion to that, because we ended up with very, very satisfied customers. And obviously, our flight deck crew were also happy with the service they got.
Right. In SAA's 84-year history, this is the first female flight, and everything in terms of in the background, and also the pilots and the cabin crew. That feeling for you, being part of that, Ms. Caroline, let me start with you.
Okay, feeling of?
The feeling of just having been on that historic flight and being part of history, really.
You know what? For me, it was personally awesome to be part of that crew and the environment, because passengers were all in awe of the fact that it was an all-female crew, all-female cockpit. And when we explained that even from dispatch, then it was all catered by women. The cleaning staff, all females. So that was actually a very, very momentous thing for me to experience.
Jane, a lot of people know the aviation industry as a very male-dominated industry. Are we seeing that change?
In South African Airways, it's actually been changing for a while. I joined the airline in 1988, and I was then one of the very first women who was hired into the airline as a pilot. But now in SAA, we've got our percentage of women pilots is about 10%. And that's double the world average. In all the major airlines, British Airways, Air France, they have 5% of their pilots are women. and in America as well. So SAA is doing fantastically in raising gender equity in the cockpit.
And Lindy, on the technical side, same question to you, I guess, it being a male-dominated industry, but are we seeing the change where women are interested even in the technical aspect of aviation?
Yes, there is. There's a whole growth in women that are going into aviation on the technical side, from the apprenticeship to being on the ramp to the technical side on the hangars where they're working. It's growing with women getting more and more interested in getting into aviation and becoming aircraft technicians. It's growing very fast, and for me it's a beautiful thing to see more and more women going into aviation on the technical side, not only on the cabin crew, not only on the flight deck, but the technical side where you get your hands really into the aircraft. It's a good thing. We're growing there.
And Slee, what our viewers are not privy to is that you were also with a female camera technician from here in eNCA. So it was a very, a feminine theme there. But tell us about your experience in terms of covering the story.
I mean, I was quite privileged to be on that flight, and I think going into it, you're excited, you don't know what to expect, but you know that it's going to be a good flight, because I know what South African women are capable of, and to see the level of professionalism, the level of the level of work that went into ensuring that this flight did not go over the hitch just proved that women can do anything. Women can do things better than men, really, in my opinion. And I think once the passengers realized that it was an all-female crew, they were quite as excited as us. And as soon as we landed, I don't think Captain Jane Trembath could be able to hear from the cockpit, but everybody was clapping, cheering, and just so excited to land in Sao Paulo, Brazil, on the first intercontinental flight that's all-female operated. I think it was a momentous occasion, and I think we should see more of those occurring. It should not just be a once-off. I think we should see more of these flights. I was actually speaking to the SAA officials and saying, we need another one. We need more of these. We need them to be a norm, not just something that happens in August when we celebrate women.
100%. Ms. Caroline, some of the challenges that come with your job, though?
Challenges that come with the job would be related to passengers not being satisfied with the product. But however, as far as the cabin crew are concerned, the general feeling is that we're doing a little bit more than we actually should. So our passengers are generally happy with what we as cabin crew have to offer, which is mostly Ubuntu.
Right, right. Jane, have you ever had someone, I'll use the word insane for lack of a better word, who says, I will not get on a flight that is being steered by a woman?
Well, I've never had anybody who got off the aircraft before the flight, but I've had people after the flight who said, if I'd known it was going to be a woman pilot, I would have got off.
Oh, jeez.
And in fact, that happened on a flight.
Can you park mid-air for someone to get
up front? But, that maybe if I just announced to the passengers confidently before the flight, then they'll listen to the confidence and have faith in us as women.
Lindy, let's talk to young women who want to do what you do, who are looking at you ladies and thinking, wow, I want to do that.
I'd say go for it. Definitely go for it. It's beautiful seeing young women in aviation. I am the youngest woman in my section at the moment, and it's a beautiful thing. When you walk into the cockpit and you run into the flight deck, and usually it's generally all men, and you walk in there and they're like, oh, you're the engineer? Yes, I am. And it's like, oh wow, hi, and it's the handshake, and then you warm up to them and you interact with them, having that feeling of they understand that you are a young black woman in aviation, and they appreciate that out of you, because you are going to give them exactly the same service, the same courtesy that they are given by all your other male engineers on the line. And having more women go into aviation, it will be beautiful to see that. It is beautiful to see that, because we need more women in aviation, young women in aviation, black, white, colored, whatever race you are. It is a beautiful thing. We grow in aviation. It is a forever growing industry. And I don't want them to limit themselves to only being engineers on the line. You can get into being a pilot. You can be the cabin crew. You can be anything in aviation. You can do that. You can be the ramp, which are the people that usually cater for all the people going into the flight and things like that. it's a broad industry. The more you learn about it, the more you want to do different things in aviation. And the more women that go into it, I'm not sidelining the men, but the more women that go into it, it will be beautiful. Yeah?
Ms. Caroline, I think people take for granted the kind of work sometimes that you do, because you think, even me, I can do that. I just have to smile. Would you like something? You know, but it takes more than that. You actually have to be a people's person.
True that. Okay.
So tell us about what someone would actually need if they're thinking of wanting to do the kind of job that you do.
Okay, as you said already, you have to be a people's person. That's a number one thing, because you do work with people. So apart from that, you still need to be able to learn the things that are related to safety, security, and what we also do on the aircraft is take care of passengers' needs relating to the service, and the most important one would be, and what normally occurs, related to medical emergencies. The cabin crew are trained to deal with those things like medical emergencies. And for that, you have to have the mental capacity to deal with all those.
Indeed. Jane, final word, perhaps just a inspiration or a word for someone who's looking at you guys and saying, I want to do that. Where do you even start?
Well, if you want to become a pilot, then you'd have to approach a local flying school, perhaps find out what can be offered in your area. It does take a lot of dedication, and to be trained as a pilot is an expensive process as well. So you have to find the funding for that. But also within yourself, you have to have the confidence within yourself, and you have to have the tenacity to be able to overcome the setbacks along the way, because there will be setbacks, but women can find the power within themselves to overcome them and forge a career.
Always. Thank you so much for honoring us.
That they've reawakened. I mean, as a child, I always wanted to be part of the cabin crew. So I don't know, maybe my time here is a bit limited. I think I'm going to be signing
We might
up
just
with
catch you in the
SAA
sky
one of these good days.
I'm glad. I'm super inspired. Thank you so much, ladies. Really appreciate it. Captain Jane Trembath, Senior Purser, Ms. Caroline Moja, as well as Aircraft Technician Lindiwe Ndaba. Siyabulela kakhulu, ladies, for coming through this morning.